All right, welcome to another map briefing. This one we're doing Harper's Graveyard. This is one of the ones I like it. I like it. It's yeah, I like it. We'll just say that. So this is a CSA attacking map. This is one where I'll say the attackers have the arty advantage, and most of the fighting is limited to the box that is the graveyard. It's actually well named. I would say that most of your fighting and dying is going to happen. It's a relatively small area. There's stone walls around it, so you can probably imagine that stone walls being hard cover are going to be great. Sometimes there's some fighting on the side of this hill as well. But I'm going to begin this one by talking about artillery. This is one where if the CSA gunners know what they're doing, they have a huge advantage over the defenders, and they can make the defenders' life miserable. So the CSA get two big batteries. I don't think I'm going to be able to fly there fast enough, and I don't really have to. I believe it's French and Manly on this map, and I believe that's looking at the first one. I'm trying to remember what it looks like from the gun sights, but what you can do now, yeah, I guess that's right. Anyways, from the battery that we just looked at, the points you can see here, you can see that this road will render in for most rank and file gunners. You can move guns off to the side. Maybe I'll actually hop up there and show you, but you can hop off to the side and you can easily hit everything. So there is this kind of sloped feature to the graveyard, and you can hit everything, and this is going to be one of the Union holding positions frequently, is this corner. The other battery is easier to see, and yeah, it's right there. And so there they be. And what they have really good eyes on is the other half of the Union defenses, which is how the hill slopes back down this way. And so they can see, and I can tell you from those gun sights, everything right and around the point renders in very clearly. Like the road does, the point does. I believe this brick house renders in very well, while the rest of the trees don't. And so there's not too much, there's really not much at all that decent CSA gunners can't hit that the defenders have to hold on. The defenders have a ticket disadvantage, as they tend to do. I think that those tickets might have been drawn up before arty, and the assumption was, well, the defenders get to sit behind the stone wall. They're usually on slightly higher ground, and the attackers have to come to them largely through two lanes. That lane, and it's a little bit simplified, but it's basically that lane or something over here, and so that the defenders ought to be at a ticket disadvantage. The defenders are not without artillery. It's not ideally placed for the infantry fighting, but they get these three guns, and sometimes they'll roll one down here, chock it full of canister or whatever, and they'll shoot as they want. And other times they'll take another one and put it over here. Some pretty talented Union gunners will roll out, hopefully not put themselves too close to that brick house, which is easy to see, but they've actually dialed in their ranges to counterbat the CSA arty up there, and so that's pretty neat as well. Also, if you roll the gun onto the high ground here, you should be able to slam shells into the CSA side of the stone wall. So that's another option for the third gun. All right, attacking strats. It's pretty much left or right on this map. It's pretty limited in what you can do otherwise, and so there is the left side push. A lot of times CSA, I don't know why they're doing this, but they're lining up here and they're just shooting across into the Union, who are also taking a knee on the stone wall. Just a little bit of a trick. If you're up against the stone wall and you're taking a knee, you may not be actually completely covered. If you just come back from the stone wall a little bit, take a knee, and then you aim and rise, you should then pretty much be entirely covered by everything. But anyways, so there's the push down here. Sometimes this is advance and fire. Sometimes the Union will just, or the CSA will just straight charge down here. All right. There is this little detour you can try, and you got to be quick about it. But there is a way to hop over here, and then you don't have to come up here. You can go down here if you do this fast enough, and then you pop out. I believe it's right about here. It's hard to do, and a lot of times the Union already have people down there who are going to try to kill you if you come in. It's really hard to get a big group to do it, and you don't want to go as a small group because you'll likely die out of formation. But if you see people like materializing back here that you don't think should be here. They're not cheating. They're just using their out of bound timer as a resource, and they're trying to get behind you. But that's a little thing that sometimes you do see entire companies that will come through here and show up. But again, as the Union defenders, you have a stone wall. You should be able to shoot them down. I also think the Union. I thought some of them light blue dudes who look very sharp on this map for the Union. I thought that they might have 42s on this map, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But so that's that push. Sometimes if they overrun that position, the CSA may continue on here to try to wipe out anybody that's in Arty. I don't know how advisable that is. You don't want to lose your flags up here. Again, flags are generally good to have. It's not a far run at all from spawn, but again, you want to keep people moving with you as you move around. In general, it's wipe and move, I think, is the order of the day. The Union spawn back here as the defenders, and so you spawn in, you run here, and you're back in the fight in no time. A lot of times the Union on... Well, we've talked about the CSA push to their left, the Union's right. We'll talk about the CSA push on the right. It's slightly more complicated, but not too much. CSA will come up the right side. Sometimes they will try to skirt the boundary here. Gives them a little bit more concealment and cover. They'll do something on these rocks. They'll try to hold these rocks. They can definitely hold these rocks and still be in bounds. The idea is that being behind these rocks give them cover from what's being shot straight on. The Union can and does go down into this fence. I believe the Union will be in bounds, yeah, if they're hugging that fence, shooting up. So, you know, it's a bad trade for the defenders, probably, because they have soft cover shooting uphill into attackers. It's usually a tall order for the Union to lose these rocks for long. And then the Union, if they want to shoot down, they have to run up and they get the soft cover of the fence to shoot down into the rocks. And so the CSA see it as a way of forcing the defenders to come to them. I get it. It's also easy to overwhelm this position. It's not that much cover, and you can be enveloped on the right, the left, and if the Union build up, just push right through those rocks and wipe you. So that's a challenge. But otherwise, it's line up and push down this side of the stone wall. Union defenders will be on the back side. A lot of times the Union will have a second layer of defense, possibly down these rocks. More likely it's going to be on this fence, right? Because fences, particularly if you get those straight rails, it feels like pretty darn close to hard cover. And you can only be shot once the CSA come up on you, and the Union can do that all the way back to here. So you can get a lot of guys in a limited space and really mow down the attackers on their way in. This is one of the maps where you don't really need to do cap recap. And it's one where the defenders pretty much don't ever want to lose cap. We have capped and then held it as the CSA. Those were organized play. But you can do it. It's usually hard to do because as the attackers, you'll take so many casualties on the way in. Though with faster respawn timers, if you're actually able to wipe the defenders and a couple of their flags, the CSA might be able to just turn these stone walls into their defense and then force the Union to come to them. But the Union can obscure a lot of their movements if they're going to counterattack, either by using the hill over there or the buildings over there, and they can put 4 companies against 1 or 2 and then defeat them in detail. So I think that one's hard to do. If the CSA arty and infantry, if it's like just, you know, proficient CSA artillery, it doesn't have to be the best, but it's proficient, they're going to probably bomb this corner, bomb that corner. They should be able to get at least 2 guns on each corner if they know where to move them. They should be able to hit them. And then if the CSA infantry push behind those shots, the suppression, the casualties, the dirt and all the else should cover a good bit of that push, and then just make it bloody on the back end. Don't lose your flags, and then rinse and repeat. This is not one where the attackers should run out of time. It's not one where the defenders really can afford to play cap recap, but they can try, right? They certainly can try. They can move back far enough that the CSA cannot get them or cannot easily get them. And I think if you're the defenders and that's your only option, right? Force the CSA to cap early and then try to play with their tickets in a ferocious counterattack. You still got to deal with the arty coming down on you. There's probably nothing you can do about that, but it is a tough order. Having said that, having played this map a lot on both sides, infantry as well as artillery, I think it's a reasonably well-balanced map. And it's one where the Union defenders shouldn't take very many at all out-of-line deaths, because it's such a limited amount of lateral movement and there's so little woods and other kind of cover for people to get separated. It's harder for the attackers to take that many out-of-lines from you. So all things being equal, I think that this can be a balanced map. It's a fun map. It's a chaotic map, but it's sometimes a really nice refresher to some of the long, drawn-out shooting kinds of maps.